So we have spent many weeks here in Solomon's temple, in the holy place, in the Holy of Holies. We started several weeks ago into the Holy of Holies, seeing the lectern in the Bible, the pulpit, the offering plate, the cross, and last week the choir loft. Today we go into the deepest recesses of the Holy of Holies, the sacristy, the font, and the table. The sacristy, which is that room right behind this wall where the pastors sit and just under the choir loft. The sacristy, the font, and the table are the subject before the house today. And they are more than just a nice room back here and some haphazard pieces of liturgical furniture. They are actually solutions to real problems, serious problems in our world and our lives on this very day. The problems of disorientation, of abandonment, of discord and violence. Sacristy, font, and table are answers and solutions to these problems. First of all, the sacristy. The sacristy is the place of preparation, where the sacred elements are prepared for us in this moment of holy worship in this holy place. Preparation is important in every area of life. I'm sure Kim Martin has been preparing all day for that Cahaba River fry down this afternoon, even as any one of us who prepares a meal has to spend some time preparing, or those who are athletes who participate in different kinds of sports spend hours practicing and preparing. Did you know that we have to prepare when we give sermons, those of us who are pastors here? And here's the average of the time of preparation: about an hour for every minute in the pulpit. So a 20-minute sermon, that's about 20 hours of preparation every single week that we preach. Lawyers know this, in litigation especially. I had a friend who told me that his law school professor said, actually, this is the way to put it: preparation, not possession, is 9/10 of the law. Cases are won in chambers. So you have to be prepared before you know all the answers. You know what's going to come up. You prepare before your summation, before the jury or the judge. We all experience preparation in our lives. Whether you're building a building or whatever you're doing, you have to prepare. And that's what happens in the sacristy. In the sacristy and in your home, as you prepare to come to worship, in essence, what we are doing is rebooting and reorienting our lives to go in the direction that God wants to lead us, not just the direction where we find ourselves in the world. In 2 Chronicles, King Ahaz had polluted the temple with unclean thoughts and unclean actions, and so the Levites had to prepare and to come in and clean things up. Every week, the members of the guild prepare our worship for us. They have on non-communion Sundays beautiful flowers here, and then on the first Sunday of the month, we have these beautiful plates and the trays that are communion silver that the guild members prepare for us, and the bread and the wine. Every week, the acolytes prepare by putting on their gowns back in the sacristy to lead us into worship and to lead us out. We are all preparing for this great time of worship, and in many ways, this time of worship is a huge show and tell. It is God's show and tell in this great drama of salvation history that we participate in every single week. When I was a child, I remembered show and tell days. They were so much fun. We would bring little garter snakes, or, well, not often, or we would bring, I remember bringing a little chick that I had hatched in an incubator from a science kit that I had ordered, a mail order. We bring our dolls, we bring our newborn pups, our model airplanes, and the kids in the class just love it because they want to see with rapt anticipation what's coming next. Well, God is doing the same for us with the sacraments and with preaching. This worship experience is one giant show and tell. It is God's show and tell for you and for me. So first of all, the sacristy is the place of preparation where we prepare for God's great liturgical show and tell. Second is the baptismal font, which is the place of belonging. It is the welcome home moment. It is the welcome to the family moment. Now, we talk a lot about Syrian refugees and refugees from other countries, but the truth is, at some time in our lives, we are all refugees. We all know what it feels like to be cut off a little bit, abandoned, to feel a little bit alone. And the sacrament of baptism, whether we are witnessing a child being baptized or an adult, is our reminder in our own renewal of our own baptism that God has welcomed us, that we don't need to be alone. It is the sign and seal of God's love for us. And by the way, we only do it once in the Presbyterian Church. Some denominations allow baptism more than once, but if you come from another denomination to this one and join this church, we accept your baptism. We recognize it. We only do it once. Larry Stuckey, a good friend who used to teach at Wesley Theological Seminary in Washington, D.C., right next to American University, wrote a book called Baptism, Christ's Act in the Church. And he made this point right at the beginning of the book that baptism is only once. And he made it this way. He tells the story of a baby born in England in the early 1900s, Lucille by name, whose maternal grandmother took her soon after she was born to the local Wesleyan chapel to be baptized. Now, Lucy's father, a sturdy Anglican, was skeptical of the whole thing because at that time the Church of England did not recognize Methodist clergy as being a part of the apostolic succession, so he took Lucy to the local Anglican parish for being baptized the second time. Lucy's mother was a recent convert to the Salvation Army, and she didn't think much of either the Wesleyans or the Anglicans, so she took young Lucy to the nearby citadel for the presentation under the banner of blood and fire, the Salvationist counterpart to baptism. So she was baptized then a third time. Eventually, the family moved to this country, to a community out in the Midwest somewhere, where there was neither a Wesleyan or Methodist church nor an Episcopal church. Neither a Salvationist nor an Episcopal church. So they joined the Methodist church in that period, in that community. And she wanted to join the church also. So Lucy went through the confirmation class. And the pastor of this church was one of those mavericks who didn't believe in the baptism of infants, and so he declared that all the confirmation class would have to be truly baptized. And Lucy's mother got wind of that, and she said, no way, absolutely not. 3 times is enough. But Lucy, being a good psychologist, knew that when her mother was comfortably seated in the pew, that she wouldn't make a scene. And so when the whole class went up to the font, Lucy joined them and was baptized yet a 4th time. Now, years later, it came to pass that Lucy fell in love with and married a Southern Baptist. You're already guessing where this one's going, aren't you? But not before first extracting from him the pledge that she need not be baptized yet again, and he agreed that she was already sufficiently initiated into Christ's church, and all was well until they moved to a community and joined a Baptist church where they needed a pianist. And Lucy loved to play the piano and seemed a providential gift to the church, but ruled the deacons, unbaptized, unimmersed hands, may not play the Lord's song, and sure enough, she was baptized yet a 5th time. How many times does it take? Once is enough. She's probably in the Guinness Book of World Records. Once is enough. Now, another thing that Presbyterians believe is we believe in the baptism of infants, and we have friends who say, no, 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 you have to be able to profess your faith before you get baptized. Why do you Presbyterians, and there are other denominations who believe in the baptism of infants, where does that come from? Well, it comes from Calvin's doctrine of prevenient grace. Pre meaning before, venient meaning come, that God's grace comes to us long before we can comprehend or understand in any way as when we are infants. Why is this important? Because when you put all the emphasis on professing your faith before you get baptized, you're putting the emphasis on the human action. And a sacrament is not about human action. A sacrament is about God's action. It's about divine action. And so we baptize infants because the emphasis is on God's action, not on ours. Baptism is an amazing way to say, welcome to the family. That's what we're saying. In many ways, what Jesus is saying to us when we are baptized, and when we renew our baptism, every time we see a child baptized or an adult, is, you can call me friend. Jesus is saying, you can call me friend. Now, when I served as president of Pittsburgh Seminary, many of the students would call me President Carl, some called me Dr. Carl. All the faculty were referred to by Dr. this or Dr. that. No one in the student body ever referred to a professor by first name. And we always told them at the day of graduation, it's okay, you can call us by our first name. When I would hand out diplomas, I would say, it's okay. A year and a quarter ago, a young man named Brian Lays graduated from Pittsburgh Seminary, and I told him then when I handed him the diploma, you can call me Bill. Oh, no, I can't do that. And so he went through another whole year as I came here, and he did his Master of Theology, and he graduated again with that degree, and now he's on our staff, and as he comes here and begins to work, I said, Brian, now you can call me Bill. It's okay. Oh, no, Dr. Carl, I don't know, I can't do that. And I said, well, when you're ordained? I don't know. And he got ordained in Denver at the end of August, and I said, come on, Brian, it's okay, you can do it. No, I don't know. And after, he was installed right here at IPC toward the end of September, and we're standing in the reception in the parlor, and I said, Brian, now, do you understand that you can call me Bill? And he replied, okay, Dr. Carl. Baptism is God's way of saying to you and me, you can call me friend. I am no longer far and removed from you. So that's the second symbol. The third is the table. If the sacristy is the place of preparation, and the font is the place of welcoming and belonging, then the table is the place where we celebrate the real presence of Jesus Christ. See, sacraments are very important for us because we are visceral, sensuous creatures, and we need more than just words. We need more than just a sermon. We need something visible. One writer suggested that maybe because some sermons are boring and unintelligible, we need to be able to see God's love for us. So God gave us the sacraments of baptism and the Lord's Supper. In many ways, the sacraments are to preaching as television is to radio. We have the visual and the verbal. God is high and lifted up with a sermon, but then in the Lord's Supper, God comes down to where we are, to our level, amidst our pain and our hurt. God is present with us in the Lord's Supper. That's what we believe as Presbyterians. But what does that mean? Well, Presbyterians do not buy into the Anglo-Catholic tradition that there is this magic moment, this mysterious moment of transformation when the priest holds up the host and says, "Hocus corpus, this is my body." We know it's called transubstantiation, and too many Presbyterians make fun of Roman Catholics. Oh, that's some kind of simplistic or simple-minded idea. No, it's highly sophisticated. and very philosophical. It comes from Aristotelian realism. Aristotle believed that every object had an essence in heaven. For example, no matter what shape or size of pulpit you see anywhere in any church around the world, there is the substance of pulpit in heaven, the essence, the very essence of pulpit. But he also believed that every object had accidents. That's accidents, accidents, which are the shape, the texture, the color of an object. Every object has substance and accidents. So, the bread on the table has both substance and accidents. The substance of breadness is in heaven. The essence of bread is in heaven. And the bread also has the accidents of a texture, a taste, a smell, a color. In the Roman Catholic tradition, the belief is that at the moment of consecration at Hocus Corpus, that the substance of bread is now transformed into the substance of the body of Christ in heaven. The accidents remain the same: text, color, smell, taste. Now, that's even a hard one for us to understand in a postmodern world. Gertrude Stein said a rose is a rose is a rose. How can we understand that? I don't know. It's a mystery. That is what Roman Catholics believe. Lutherans believe in consubstantiation, where Christ is in, with, and under the bread and wine. Many Presbyterians believe the Zwinglian, Ulrich Zwingli's idea that Christ is a mere memorial. That's actually a paraphrase and probably too much of a stereotype. Zwingli had a little higher view than that, but many Presbyterians just think, well, we've got to go through this. We pass the trays, we take the bread, we take the cup, and well, I don't know, this was going through communion, and we're just remembering Jesus. But there is a lot more going on here, dear friends. John Calvin believed in what he called dynamic virtualism, which is to say that Christ is really present with us as we partake of the bread and the cup. As we celebrate the Eucharist, Christ is right here. Calvin believed he was with us in this very moment, transforming us, making us better than we could ever be ourselves, opening us to others who are different, breaking down the barriers between us. That's what we celebrate on World Communion Sunday. We are sitting at table in the presence of the risen Christ with people we would not normally invite to our own homes for dinner. That is the radical social act of the Lord's Supper, and it is Christ who is really present, who is actually helping us do that. The whole process involves a reversal of our normal ways of thinking. For now, it's a great leveler, you see. We have captains of industry on the front row who in this celebration become waiters in the restaurant of God right here today. And Christ is really present in our midst. I want you to think about a loved one you have lost, no matter what age, no matter how long ago, and how you think about that person. Certain things that will happen that will bring that person's presence right back to you. A trick of weather, a smell of some kind, a sight, and you feel that person's presence. What God is saying to us is that when we celebrate the Lord's Supper, Christ is present with us. Yesterday, as Jane and I gathered around Susan Barrett's bed, saw her smile there, and we shared stories, and then we held hands and prayed. We felt her presence with us. in that very moment. In the Lord's Supper, dear friends, when we partake in a few moments, I want you to know that Christ is present with us, even here and now. So, sacristy, font, and table, they are God's gifts to you and to me. God bless you all.